Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Arts Show. I'm Jim Sirianni, your host. Thank you so much for joining us today. This show is part of the Digital Arts Festival that is produced by Center Stage Theater of Santa Barbara, California. The Digital Arts Festival shows stream nightly at 7 p.m. And you can find out more on the Center Stage website, centerstagetheater.org, and click on the blog tab. And the purpose of the Digital Arts Festival is to create an outlet for artists of all kinds to show their work. Because of the shutdown, many artists and performers suddenly found themselves with no way to perform or to show their work. And in some cases, unfortunately, the work these artists or performers have created might not be seen by the public because of the quarantine, and that would be too bad. So, in an effort to find some sort of workaround, if you will, the Digital Arts Festival was created to help artists and performers connect with their audiences in a virtual setting. So we will have everybody from dance, theater, music, film, visual arts, poetry, storytelling, and much more. And again, you can learn all about it on the Center Stage website, centerstagetheater.org, and click on the blog tab. Today's guest is Harout oh gosh, I'm going to butcher your last name. I'm so sorry, Harout. How do you say it again?
Aristakessian.
Aristakessian. And Harout is the founder of the Dance with Harout Performance Company. He teaches dance classes that are open to dancers of all ages, backgrounds, and levels of dance experience. His students get the life-enriching journey of participating in dance and all stages of it, from choreography to dancing on stage and a professional production. And we're lucky to have him here today, and we get to learn more about his career. Welcome to the show, Harout. So wonderful to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jim. It's nice to be here with,
Considering, yeah, here virtually.
Yeah, here virtually talking.
Exactly. So, Harout, tell us about your background, your artistic path that has brought you where you are today.
Ooh, my artistic path that has brought me to where I am today. Background, like when I first started dancing, or just more
Sure,
about
from
the company?
when you got started in dance.
Okay, so I first started dancing when I was like 14 years old, I think. I got a scholarship to Millennium Dance Complex in Los Angeles. And from there, I started training in the technique of hip hop and jazz funk, and started teaching when I was 16. And it kind of, then I went to school and to Glendale Community College. I got some degrees in dance, and then I transferred to UCSB. And that's where I started my performance company, which is Dance with Harout today. So it started not when I was a kid, but like when I was 10 years old, I would go to this after school program at the YMCA, and I would always participate in talent shows. So I always knew I liked to dance, but yeah, I would say it started at like 14.
Age 14. And then, so tell us about your company, about Dance with Harout, your studio and your performances. Tell us about how all that became into being.
So the simple answer is I was a student at UCSB, and I needed to figure out how to make more money. So the loans were not enough to live off of. They barely give you enough to like get through everything. So I was trying to figure out ways of what I need to do. Do I need to take time off from school, take a break, save up money, come back? And then I thought, oh, well, why don't I start doing what I really love to do, which is like charging per student and doing a dance class. And one of the reasons I tailored my dance class to the demographic of anyone from ages 18 to 76 is because I feel like, where do I look? Do I look at you or in this?
Oh yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you can look.
If I look at you, does it look funny?
It looks fine.
Is I personally feel because I was a professional dancer before I started my dance company, and I still am a professional dancer. So I've danced on Disney Channel, I've danced all over Los Angeles, Staples Center, NBA Clippers. I've done backup dancing, I've Nokia Theater. So I danced professionally and trained before I started my company. So I realized from my experience how ageist the dance world is, and how you really have to have a certain look or a certain body type to be able to even succeed in the trainings for these auditions and classes. So I was thinking there has to be an outlet, there has to be a way where these producers and these judges and everything I experience can anchor and tailor what they're providing, where they can still teach professional level choreography in an accessible way. Because that's what I felt like was missing in the professional dance world that I grew up in Los Angeles. So when I started my company, I thought, okay, I think I could do this. So I basically developed my own teaching curriculum where I could still teach professional level choreo, but in an accessible way, where I had to develop my own techniques and my own kind of approach to be able to get the students to do what I need them to do, so that at the end they not only learn choreography, but they also feel like professional dancers. So that's why I started this whole everyone has a place, everyone can dance, because of my own background of realizing it's just sad because I through my teachings, I've learned that everyone can dance, and it just depends. If you have a patient teacher, like for example, in my trainings for different jobs or shows, you learn the choreography and you probably learn it in an hour, and you learn about maybe sometimes the whole dance, which is about 5 minutes in 1 hour. Now, if I take that and I spread it among 6 months of trainings, which is what I do with my company, to learn one dance, we rehearse for 6 months, and I'm patient and I'm kind, then I'm able to get the same output. Granted, I don't follow the same like structure, but it's so rewarding to see. So that's why I create that way. I know I talked a lot. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, you're doing fine. This is great. And again, my guest today is Harout Aristakessian. I am so going to butcher that. I'm so sorry. Aris, how do you pronounce? I'm sorry.
Arista.
Aristakessian. I'm so sorry.
You're welcome.
But Harout is with his dance company, Dance with Harout. And to learn more, by the way, he's available on Instagram. You can find his Instagram page. It's Dance with Harout, Dance with Harout. And also on Facebook, same thing, Dance with Harout. And again, it's spelled Harout. So, Harout, how do you create a new dance? What is your creative process like?
Oh man, it comes in like different types of waves. So sometimes a song really inspires me and I'm like jamming to it and I'm like, oh, I want to choreograph to this. Sometimes the moves come to me, like the sequence, the choreography comes to me, and then I have to find a song that it matches with. But like in the core of it all, how I create a dance is I like to use my dances as therapy. I love mental health. I'm such an advocate for mental health, and I use my shows to promote mental health and taking care of your mental health. And so whenever I create a new dance, I always think about what message I want my dancers to get from it. Outside of learning the technique and the routine, what do I want them to take away with it? So, and honestly, it's all a part of reflect. I just reflect. I think, what have I learned this year, or what am I going through right now? And can I use art to like bring that out? So it usually has a lot to do with the mental space I'm in and what I'm dealing with in my life and how I want to put that out there. And then sometimes the choreography comes first and sometimes the music comes first.
So it's kind of an organic process, would you say? More or less?
Yeah, I would say
At first
it's organic, but it does get stressful when I have to speed the process because I have my own timeline of like 6 months of rehearsal to produce a show. So I do have to meet my own deadlines of, okay, I need to wrap up this dance. And sometimes I get writer's block. I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to take this dance. Why is it? And then but usually after I get writer's block and I go through like the stress of that, then all of a sudden the inspiration hits again. So sometimes I have to force the creativity to meet my own deadlines, but I'm always able to produce something extraordinary, so that's good.
Nice, nice. And so tell us also then about the process of when you're putting a performance together or a show. How does that come together?
So it comes together by, well, first off, reserving the dates in the theater.
Right.
At center stage. And I love Terry and Nathan and everyone and their new tech director, Antonio, and everyone's so great. So first it involves me reaching out to them and just arranging the dates. And it starts with being able to map out I have to map out the entire 6 months of rehearsals. So from January through June, we rehearse. And I have to send out this entire schedule of my projected timeline of when to do everything in the fall of the prior year. Okay?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I literally send it out in October of the prior year. So they have all of November to email me back and forth, and I tell them which dances I see them in. Some of my students can't do floor work because they have like bad knees or bad lower back. And so I know where I need to place everyone to shine, versus letting everyone do everything and then not being able to produce a professional dance at the end. So there's like a month of that, and then by December they sign up. So then January through June, I have the entire rehearsal schedule outlined, and then I use the summer to start the next rehearsal schedule to send it up by October. So I'm always working to be able to do what I do, which is take women. And I would say predominantly, like most of my women are, I would say, ages 40 and up, to be able to take non-professional dancers and to really be able to produce something that looks amazing takes a lot of time on my end. But that's how I come up. That's the like structure that I've created for myself to be able to do it.
Right.
Feel free to stop me. I know I talk a lot.
Oh, that's okay. No, you're doing fine. So when you're putting together a show, do you come up with a type of a theme, or how does that work?
Yeah, so usually I come up with a theme, and I come up with a theme that encapsulates. So usually like by the summer. So for example, this year's theme, can I work by example?
Sure.
This year's theme is Fantasyland. And how I came up with that theme was because last year's theme was Forbidden Desires. And I communicated to the audience different desires I perceived as forbidden growing up. Sexual desire, same-sex desire, non-gender conforming desire, just all of these desires that I felt shame around. And how, through the perception of viewing it as forbidden, I further got disconnected from my authentic self. So that's what last year's show was about. So based off of last year's show, this year, since being able to work through all of my trauma and all of my desires that I perceived as forbidden, since I was able to shift the lens and view it from a lens of possibility where anything is possible and I don't need to feel shame around it, now I've been in this fantasy land since last June, since the last show, because I've been enacting and actually orchestrating a lot of my fantasies, sexual, non-gender, non-conforming, romantic. A lot of these fantasies I wouldn't have really fully dived in for. I've been diving in for, so I felt like I've been in a fantasy land. So that's why I named the show Fantasyland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's the kind of land I feel like I've been in. I've been direct, I've been clear, I've been grounded, I've been owning it, I've really just let go of the social constructs around what I grew up thinking that needs to make me feel bad to know it doesn't. And so that's how I come up with it. I always reflect on the previous year's show. And it always somehow affects me. Because the year before Forbidden Desires, it was 7 Deadly Sins. And that affected how I came up with Forbidden Desires. So that's how I come up with the theme, is I always like to see where I'm at mentally. I check in with myself a lot, and I'm like, oh, this year's show's going to be happier, I think. Last year's show was just like I had to deal with a lot of my own crap. And this year's show, I'm just in like a land of fantasy. So each dance represents a different fantasy that I don't view as forbidden. And it shows the audience from my experience that when I don't view a fantasy as forbidden and as possible, I take actions that match for me to get an outcome that I want. So that's how I keep
Nice.
with themes.
That's really cool. So, and then, so it sounds like then each year builds off the previous year, and you just kind of sort of more from one year to the next. Is that fair to say? Each year
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of predicts the
yeah,
next one?
yeah. That's a good observation, Jim. Yeah, it does. Yeah, because I'm always growing and I'm learning, and I'm becoming a better version of myself. So I'm not capped off at one specific theme. Sorry, my dog just
Right.
walked out onto the dock.
Oh, that's okay. I just saw your dog walk by.
Oh, you did? Did you see her?
Yeah, what's her name?
Trixie.
Trixie. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, just to reset a little bit here, for those of you watching, I'm talking with Harout Aristakessian, and he is with Dance with Harout. And you can find out more about his company on Instagram and Facebook. For both platforms, it's Dance with Harout, Harout. That's on both Instagram and Facebook, and you can learn more about his company there. So now I know you were planning or have a performance plan for this June. How are you dealing with the unknown right now? Are plans going forward, or what's that process like?
You know, Jim, good question. Um, you know, I surrendered to the unknown. At first I tried to have control over the situation by trying to just figure everything out, but then I realized I'm not going to figure everything out. So I just kind of surrendered to the uncertainty of not knowing. And I'm taking it one day at a time. And that's how I'm being able to manage it all. So I've accepted the show may not happen in June. It may happen in June. Let's see where we are by then. And I'm still going forward with all the rehearsals. I have the best students, honestly. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I have an amazing group of students because the first week was stressful when we got into quarantine because I didn't know how to do this. And then I realized, why don't I just teach online and then just see what happens? And almost all of my students, except for a couple, supported me, joined me online, and we've literally been doing all of our rehearsals via Zoom. And I was like, okay, I can get through this. The first month, we don't do formations, we don't do blocking. I can just like teach them choreo, it'll be great. Then we get to blocking and we're still in quarantine and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do?
Now, how do we do this?
Yeah, right. Can you imagine teaching blocking? Like you have to move right, be like center stage, move up to curtain one. So then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this. So I literally write out every single person's blocking and I upload it to my computer and I share the formations with them. And in Zoom, you can use annotations. And I say, okay, like, this is you, Susie Q. Susie Q, you're the heart. I want you to travel stage left like this. I literally like guide them. And this is how you're gonna avoid a traffic jam with this person moving up. So I was able to even do blocking by Zoom. And
wow.
It's crazy. And I feel so confident. I feel like even if we only meet once this quarantine is over, or even if we don't meet at all, I feel good that it's still going to be an amazing show.
Well, how very innovative. That's so cool because I've spoken with several choreographers during this whole project that we're doing with the Digital Arts Festival, and I know it's difficult for everybody to teach. Well, whether it's acting or dancing or anything that has to do with any kind of movement on Zoom, because you're dealing with buffering, you're dealing with the timing might not be exactly as it should be, because it's a little bit off because of internet or whatever. But how very innovative that you're creating like little icons then for each person. Is that what? So
yeah, I'm literally like, do you want me to try to show you? I could try to show you.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm literally creating like, it looks like calculus. Like
okay.
Yeah, it looks. I showed it to my therapist, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, this looks like math." I'm like, "I know, isn't that crazy?"
That's amazing. So how are your students dealing with the whole thing, with all of this? How are they coping with the whole process online?
Um, to be honest, and this is just my perception, and I could be wrong because it's just my perception, I would say about they're all doing really well and they're all being flexible, honestly. They're all doing well, they're doing the best that they can. And I have to kind of remind them that I know their abilities and I'm not judging them based off of what they're showing me by Zoom if they mess up, because there are some challenges. Like you said, sometimes it buffers, sometimes it does this. But um, they keep going. They keep putting a smile on their face and they keep going. And what's good is about 90% of my students, I would say, are like performance ready at this point, if we have to do it, based off of how much I've been training them online. And I always feel like my rule of thumb is just like, if you have at least more than 80% ready, then everyone else blends in. And I always make a call based off of what the whole group looks like all around across the board versus maybe the 10, 20% who maybe don't feel like they are. And then they also always end up looking good. So I have to constantly not let some of my students' insecurities or perception of their abilities affect my choice as a producer, because I see it from 1 to 40 students and they sometimes see it from a couple students to me from their perspective. So it's a lot of battling. And I feel like some of my students haven't let go of surrendering to the situation and being like, we're going to take it one day at a time, like I have, because I'm just not stressed at all about it anymore.
Right.
But I did used to be stressed about it. And again, that's what I'm trying to teach them is just do your best. You're here to have fun. Don't worry so much. The show will happen when it's meant to happen. If it doesn't happen in June, it happens when it's meant to happen. And
Right.
I think as my job as a teacher is to reinforce that positive and healthy climate for them instead of reinforcing the crazy stuff that's going on out there in the news. You know?
Exactly.
But they're doing great. They're all doing great.
Nice. That's great. It's good to know that they are, that you're all hanging in there despite the fact that you're having to reinvent the wheel a little bit, if you will, and having to do everything online, and that's great.
Yeah. I can't tell you how creative. I feel more creative than I've ever felt because
Really?
of the formations. When we lag, I tell them, no problem, just play the song from your cell phone. I don't even need to hear the song because I know it. And I'll just watch them and I'll know if they're doing it right without even hearing the buffer because I know when it's supposed to happen. Like, it's helped me get more creative on how I deliver things. Like, I don't think I would have gotten this creative if it wasn't for the quarantine. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, that's interesting. That's really cool. And maybe it's a fact that you have to, because you have to watch everybody in little boxes or, one little part of it at a time as opposed to looking at the whole group or whatever. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And again, my guest on today's show is Harout Aristakessian, and he is with Dance with Harout. And if you'd like to learn more about his company, his Instagram is Dance with Harout, as well as on Facebook. Oh, there we go. Dance with Harout on the t-shirt there. I like that shirt. That's really cool.
That's me.
Is that you? That's awesome. I love that shirt.
You want me to hear a funny story?
Sure.
My brother, when he was doing Uber a few years ago, he had this magnet, because I teach in LA too. So he had this magnet as he would drive around LA. And the guy came into this Uber and said, "Are you a stripper?" And my brother said, "No, that's my brother's logo. He dances. He's a dancer." I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
That's funny. How funny that the writer would instantly assume that.
Yeah, I know, right? Again, his relativity, right? His perception was that. My perception is, no, it's a sexy dance class.
There you go. So, Harout, what are you most looking forward to once life begins to return to normal after the quarantine's done? What are you looking forward to the most?
Having a normal workload. Honestly, I've been so busy. Like, I see a lot of things, like people are bored and I don't know what, and I'm just like, I don't even know what that feels like. Like, my workload has doubled since the quarantine because the preparations have doubled to be able to do everything virtually. So I'm looking forward to just not having, I feel like I'm working all the time now. So I'm just looking forward to not working as much. But if I had to choose something non-work related, having brunch. I love having brunch. I love pancakes, French toast. Thank God.
Right.
Yeah, I love going out and having brunch, especially with my students after rehearsal. We go out and hang out, but that's my goal. Like, I can't wait to have brunch.
I hear you. Going the other day, I was thinking about that. I thought I wanted to get takeout, and I thought, well, why would I get takeout? I just have to bring it back to my house anyway.
Like,
You can't just go sit at a restaurant.
right. And did you realize, like, I realized, like, how much I've relied, like, a lot of my, because I work from home and I teach at studios. And then I didn't realize how much of running my errands and eating out was a part of my social activity.
Right.
And now,
Right.
right, missing those 2 hours of eating out or running errands sometimes the way I want, I'm like, wow, nothing's changed, but I didn't realize how much it fueled me, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what a lot of us are looking forward to, is just being able to, go out and, sit at a Starbucks for 2 hours and have a cup of coffee and not have to worry about, you know, other people around you and stuff like that. It'll be nice. So we're actually just about out of time, but before we go, Hoot, I just want to give out your information one more time so people can find you. It's called Dance with Harout. That's on Instagram, also on Facebook, Dance with Harout, and it's spelled Harout, or just like the shirt there on the screen, Dance with Harout. And if you'd like to learn more about Center Stage, their website is centerstagetheater.org. And to check out the Digital Arts Festival, just click on the blog tab on the homepage there, centerstagetheater.org. And if you care to know anything about what I'm up to, you can find me on social media as well. It's Jim on the Air on Facebook and on Instagram, Jim on the Air. And my podcasts on Spotify and Anchor.fm, Jim on the Air as well. And Harout, I just want to thank you for joining us today, for taking time out of your day, and thank you for joining us, and continued success with your dance company.
Oh, thank you so much, Jim. I appreciate you having me.
It's been my pleasure. And again, to learn more, it's Dance with Harout on Instagram and Facebook, and Center Stage is centerstagetheater.org. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. What's that?
Oh, sorry. And I'm single, too.
Hey,
use this as a platform to put it out there.
I know, right? Somehow we have to all put it out there. But thanks again, Harout, for joining us, and thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.